The feat is extraordinary, but there's a lot of work that has gone behind this very technically proficient way in which poverty has been eliminated in our country. You've been on several shows where we have actually discussed how India has been able to cure this affliction, which has stuck around ever since independence, ever since 1947. How much of a credit would you like to give the government in terms of its ambition and the completion of that ambition?
Well, good evening, Vineet. Good evening to my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. I think there have been concerted efforts over the last, more than a decade now. In fact, you look at this World Bank comment, it comes from 2011-12, it talks from 2011-12. So it practically sort of encompasses the government prior to this as well. But of course, the real pace has picked up ever after the NDA government, took over. I'm not sounding political in this because I've seen the schemes being implemented, and what we are and where we are is primarily because of the initiatives of the government. From 1947 we to 2014, we reached barely $2 trillion in terms of the GDP. And from 2014 to 2025, in 11 years, we reached 4.187 or $4.188 trillion. We more than doubled what we didn't do in 67 years. We ended up doing in 11 years. So something good must have been done. I mean, there's nothing political about this. It's all about the numbers. So I think the various initiatives taken by the government, and the biggest initiative, which I feel, apart from the welfare scheme, there's a very long list, more than 800 schemes, Vineet. I mean, I can burn away the rest of your show time, and Mitali and Gautam are going to kill me that you didn't let us speak on that. But I only like to say that the biggest takeaway would be, in this case, the infrastructure spend which the government has done. I think that has made the big difference in the economy lifting itself from where we were in the fragile five, if you remember, in 2014. We were the 11th largest economy. Today, we are the fourth largest, on our course to become the third largest. Infrastructure spending has made a lot of difference because that has a multiplier effect in economics. Every 1 rupee spent on infrastructure, we need, leads to an 8 times multiplier effect. So that really takes people out. I mean, Manrega and Garib Kalyan Yojana, these are welfare schemes. Of course, people do benefit. People are still getting 5 kilos of food grains every month. 81 crore, 30 lakh people in India are getting food grain. But an interesting aspect, Beneath, of this data released by World Bank is that, because there was a lot of criticism. I've been in innumerable, shows. Probably I can't even count the number of shows I've sat on various channels, where I was questioned that you say that 25 crore plus people have come out of multi-dimensional poverty index, where living standard improved, health and education facilities included. It's not that people had a lot of money in their banks. Please keep this in mind. These people didn't have a lot of bank balance when they came out of poverty, but the living standard, education, health facilities, be it PM Awas, the toilets, the nutrition facilities, there is a very long list, as I said. So the interesting aspect is that the World Bank data now corroborates with the Niti Aayog data. The Niti Aayog data said 25 crore people came out of multidimensional poverty index. And now World Bank is corroborating that. So I think this is kind of a stamp, because some people were saying Niti Aayog is part of government of India. Obviously it could be driven by the ruling party's mandate and, all sorts of accusations. But now what about World Bank? If World Bank says the same thing. Another interesting aspect, Vineet, is that $3 a day is about 7,500 rupees per month. So I mean, this is a different aspect of what I'm saying. 7,500 rupees per month for a person earning that much. Can we consider him to be out of poverty line, below the poverty line? That we need to go back to ask World Bank, because can a person, a family, survive in 7,500 rupees a month? Well, that's anybody's guess. So, but accepting the benchmark which World Bank has set, I think it's very, very creditable. Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Ujjwala Yojana, Mudra Yojana, the toilets being built, electricity, Nal Se Jal, given to the villagers. There have been long lists. I think that has brought people out of the poverty line. So all hats off to this government. And there is no There is no magic in guessing this, because if you simply have to see the GDP, the total GDP, and the GDP trickles down. Now, somebody asked me that GDP is a number. If GDP is a number, then how does it affect my economy? The fact of the matter is that the way GDP is calculated, there's a very complicated formula. I'm sure Vitali is also quite familiar with the formula, but it's in easy terms, it's goods and services produced by me and you. So after all, the people are making the GDP. So, the GDP numbers corroborated, the Niti Aayog numbers corroborated, and now the World Bank has corroborated. So we are no more. I remember when I was very young, I was in my class 5, and my Hindi teacher gave me an essay to write. And the essay was कि आप India पे essay लिख के लाओ. So my mother used to teach me. I was very young. My mother was a MA in Hindi literature at that time, and then she was a doctorate in Hindi literature. So I sat down on the bed with her. The very first sentence she told me is, when I started writing on India, Bharat एक गरीब देश है. I can never forget that sentence. Never ever forget that sentence. It's been so many years now, decades. I never forgot that. I think we finally come out of this sentence, which my mother told me decades ago.
It's very heartening to hear, Dr. Kohli. In fact, that's a story that all of us grew up with, Gautam, and that's a story which perhaps will become a part of only memory now, as India has done extremely well, extensively well, when it comes to eliminating poverty, something that has been attached with India, something that has, leached off with India and its image.
Well, Vineet, when you double your GDP between 2014 and now, there are two things at play here. Quite apart from everything